Hello and many thanks for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, President Muhammadu Buhari approves release of $1 billion for equipment to prosecute war against terror. INEC serves notice of Ekiti governorship election. And later on the program, CBN advises both state and federal government to save for the rainy day. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Shola Ojewusi staging a comeback, and Chris Kendi Wandu. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Glad to have you back. Boko Haram might have had a field day in the last 9 years, but it seems its frenzy for casting terror in the minds and hearts of Nigerians is about to be over. Reports say President Muhammadu Buhari has approved an eye-popping $1 billion, just approximated, as in just calculate it in naira, and you understand what we're talking about, for the purchase of military hardware in a bid to further decimate the terror group. This is a good piece of news, but political observers are cautious about their saintly optimism. In the run-up to the 2015 election, former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan also graciously released a billion of dollars to prosecute the war against Boko Haram. Today, how the money was used remains an unsolved mystery by the federal government. Is this worry a needless pessimism? Babajide, so many people have been talking about this $1 billion. In naira, for our exchange rates, that's 360 billion naira. You know, Nigerians, when it comes to the election period or anything that has to do with election, a lot of people with this pessimism. 360 billion naira, from my own estimation, I'm not saying but there's no big deal about 360 billion naira. That's $1 billion to buy military hardware. But some people are talking about the manner. Governor Ayofayoshi just sent a press release now saying that it wasn't appropriated. I have not made my independent verification from the National Assembly that this money wasn't appropriated, that this money did not pass through the National Assembly. And he went further to even insinuate that this money will be spent on election matters.
Yes, it's basically what he's been saying for so long. He's not the only person who thinks that that money will be spent on elections. Because the government said it had decimated Boko Haram, technically defeated Boko Haram. Many people out there do not see the need to spend all that money on an enemy that has been defeated. But I have said repeatedly that...
No, that's not the picture.
Yeah, that anybody who says Boko Haram has been defeated is a liar who does not fear God. Anybody who says Boko Haram does not occupy any part of Nigeria is a liar who does not fear God. Because outside the capitals of local governments, in Borno State, for example, Boko Haram is still holding on to some communities. And you and I know that Sambisa Forest is the home of Obaka Shekau. He's still holding on to Chibok girls. There are still about 119 Chibok girls with Boko Haram. And it is in Sambisa that they are keeping them. And Sambisa is Nigerian territory. We also know that the Mama Noor faction, otherwise known as Al-Banawi faction, I prefer to call it the Mama Noor faction because Mama Noor is the real leader of the group. He's an elderly person. Al-Banawi is just about 26, 27 years old. The Mama Noor faction operates or has its base in the Lake Chad area. People know, the army knows this. I've spoken with top army officers, top Air Force officers, who told me that they know that he's in the lake, he's in one of the islands of the Lake Chad. So is that place where he is not Nigerian territory? And people without fearing God open their mouths and say Boko Haram does not occupy any Nigerian territory. So where did they take the Dapchi guys? The guys analyzed that they took us, that they put them in a boat at some point and drove them to somewhere. You know that they were taking them to that Lake Chad area. That is where they are. That is where they feel safe. And our soldiers hardly go to those areas.
Yeah, because of the topography.
It's risky. It's just like I said sometime last week, that when you are saying that they should go and kill the miscreants who are killing cattle rearers in Zamfara, you have to be ready, because you don't know how many of them are in the forest. You want to send troops, maybe 50 soldiers, to go and chase them out of the forest. They may all come back dead if you are not careful. So this is the thing. Boko Haram, in my view, as someone who goes to Maiduguri, by God's grace, I will be there before the end of this month again. Boko Haram has not been defeated. Has not been defeated. I fear God. I will never, ever say that Boko Haram has been defeated. Boko Haram has not been defeated. It is still holding on to Nigerian territories. That is a fact that can be verified. These verifiable facts. You know, holding on to Nigerian territories. So the issue of spending money on an enemy that has been defeated is out of it. I've asked, let us ask for help. If we need to crush this enemy once and for all, and I'm scared again because the rains are coming.
You know,
the rains are coming in that part of the country. Once it's like June, July.
You have a fair idea how expensive the hardware.
It depends on,
you know, that is not something that's...
It depends on what you want to buy. Okay, we want to buy Tucano fighter bombers. We want to buy Tucano. We are going to invest more than $600 million on Tucano jets.
Super Tucano.
Yes, Super Tucano. Maybe about 11 or 12 of them, costing over $600 million.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to buy just one unit, one Apache helicopter, is in the region of $58 million. One. Now you sign maintenance contracts. They won't just manufacture Apache and give to you. You sign maintenance contracts and spares will come with those jets. So it's not easy. Countries that spend so much money on their military, they know that it is not easy.
So this $1 billion
one fighter
is
bomber,
not,
one American fighter bomber, costs in the region of the nuclear-tipped bombers cost up to $1 billion, $2 billion. Those ones that can carry nuclear warheads, like the B-1 bomber, the B-2 bombers. One aircraft costing as much as $2 billion. So that is it. Remember,
so there's no big deal in this $1 billion.
No. Even during the Gulf War, back then, one Tomahawk missile cost $1 million. One Tomahawk missile. And you know how many you are going to release.
Shola, Shola, it's getting interesting. Yeah. But people are talking about accountability here. And, you know, when it gets to, it's always, Nigerians, the way we think now, it's always with this, there's always this mutual suspicion. While some people are analyzing it, as Judy said, to get this hardware is very expensive and everything. But some people will say, no, they need the money for election slush fund.
Well, I'm going to come from the position of, let's say, some level of cautious optimism. Like you just said, the fact that something has to be done about Boko Haram is, it's trite to even come to that. Because I think the government, by voting this kind of money, is virtually acknowledging the fact that what they've been saying, the narrative, has to change about Boko Haram being defeated and all those things. Because if you need, bring it to Naira level, about 360 billion, then something serious. But even at that, looking at his analysis, that money, is it really enough to be able to do the kind of job based on the fact of what we see every day? despite the idea of they being defeated, a lot of things, what happened recently in Maiduguri, these people are still out there. The kind of battle these people are fighting is not the direct warfare thing. Guerrilla, they come, using suicide bombers. So the question I'm going to ask from that basis is, out of this money, because, looking at the amount on the ground and the kind of figure Babajide was trying to give us, what is being voted for surveillance? Because recently when they came to return the Dapchi girls, we learned that those people drove freely through the Yobe State to hand over the girls. Was there any move to really, how these people came and how they got back? Was there any gadgetry that is being used to be able to monitor or to be able to create a kind of, to know where they are really coming from?
Images.
So beyond the use of maybe hardwares and all those things, is there any particular provision for surveillance, for intelligence? Because I think it has reached a level where that has to be looked into. But having said that, the people who are coming up with the idea that maybe this idea of bringing money at this time, very close to election, they may have a point, because if you look at the timing, 2015, some analysts were saying about 10 months to the election, Jonathan came up with his 1 billion, whatever he voted for fighting Boko Haram. Now we are just about 10 months also now to election. The new government, the government in power is coming up with another 1 billion. It's getting curious when election is so close. Is it for you to really fight this thing honestly, or is there any particular ulterior motive involved? The government has to come clean. They have to tell Nigerians what this 1 billion is being given. And also, there is a kind of booby trap. Fayose may be a rabble-rouser, but we have to look at the booby trap that may come from the National Assembly later. That issue of appropriation has to be answered. They have to tell us, is it really money that, or is that an emergency thing that they can just vote this money without any appropriation? Because I learned these members of the House are on recess now. By the time they come back, would that be another problem, an obstacle on the way of this money? And then the battle, the counter-terrorism battle, will be suffering. So the government should be playing, they should be serious. Because the Boko Haram is still there, is no longer news. We've been hearing a lot of, the analysis Babajide has been given, when you study, when you see what is happening, so it has put a lie to that idea that Boko Haram is dead or whatever. So they have to come up serious about this battle, and they should be able to let Nigeria know that they are serious about it. I think that's the problem.
From a government that is one of its cardinal programs is fighting corruption, and I think Nigerians should learn to trust a government like this. And from what we've seen so far, they've exhibited serious intention to fight corruption. But at the same time, where's this optimism, where's this pessimism coming from?
Yes, the pessimism came from some of the instances or some of the activities or some issues that have risen since the coming of the present government. Some people don't tend to believe government any longer. Where you see some level of the activities of some government officials of recent, the SGF. You remember what happened?
Former SGF.
Former SGF. The reinstatement of MENA and all the controversies that came with it. The crisis, they enveloped the NHIS, the battle between the minister and the call of the NHIS and other government officers. So there has been this level of pessimism on the part of people when they say, oh, we are fighting that. Then secondly, also, thirdly, the recent release of names of looters has not helped the government at all, because the way it looks, it seems that by the release, some people have already looked at it from the point of a political undertone has been brought into something that's supposed to be a very serious matter. When you release certain names, when people say PDP has ruled for 16 years and they are terrible, they are this, and you forget that almost 40-50% of members of present APC were members of PDP. Are they now exonerating themselves from that? Some of them have also have been in court. In fact, there was one that I just saw recently who has an issue, FCC, that is also being prosecuted, that is going for senatorship under APC. So that is where the pessimism comes from. So people don't tend to believe the government any longer. But let us even leave that. I have my pessimism, personally, about the funds. In the past 3-4 years, let's say 3 years that this government came in, the defense has been having almost the highest allocation in budget.
It's always a constant thing,
It has
even
been
before
so
this government.
No, because if you understand,
government,
let's even say in the
defense,
past
they were high
10,
chunk.
16 years, or going to 18 years, defense has always had the highest. It has become, yes, and power, good. Defense and power. It has always been like that. One comes after the rest of them. And just like it's happening in power, we've spent so much in power and we've spent to have darkness. The same thing with the military. Then coupled with what happened just with the Dasuki case and the rest of them, our money meant for military service. But let's even come further. Recently, the federal government said that we purchased about 10, Jide, can you correct me please, 10 fighter jets. Yes.
Super Tucano.
So you Super Tucano. We purchased about 10 recently or thereabout. So much money has been voted. My problem, and I don't think that we're looking at, we are talking of hardwares, but what of the human capacity? Are we talking about the human capacity? How are the military men being motivated? You can have all the equipment and all the fighter jets and the rest of them of this world and just put them at the people that are supposed to man this. How are you motivating these guys to work, to warfare? What of their welfare? Those of them that have been died, 11 just died, that were killed in Kaduna, were their family taken care of? Were they well insured? Have the families been taken care of? If the families of those 11 were not taken, others, their other colleagues will take their time to put out their heads to fight for their fatherland. So that is why I, like Senator Sani said in his Twitter handle just some few hours ago, that it is not just the hardware. There is the need for us to start looking at the human capacity. The young men and women who are sacrificing them. Some of them live all their life, all year in Sabisa Forest and all these places without seeing their families. Are they well taken care of? If you don't take care of them and you buy all the equipment with all the billions and billions, and these guys will be, if they're not well motivated, it's going to be a problem. That is the issue for me.
All right. Babajide, I am yet to see the Nigeria in 2018. I'm yet to see one issue that is going to be a rallying point, that apart from football, that we are going to come together and we are going to rise beyond partisanship. That, our military, we are losing a lot of people, and millions of people are displaced in the Northeast, that let's support this government. PDP support this government. SDP, everybody come together to say, look, this is a national interest matter, apart from football.
It's a Nigerian military.
I don't know. I don't know. We are divided over almost everything.
It's true.
We play politics with almost everything.
Even with our lives.
What's responsible for this? It never used to be like this.
Yeah, it's the politicians that you blame. It's the politicians. And if the politicians show sincerity, people will rally behind the government.
Exactly.
But politicians are not sincere. Let me tell you, if the government of the day shows that single-mindedness to fight corruption without showing any form of partiality, and they see clearly that the judiciary has also aligned with the government in jailing corrupt people, honestly, Nigerians will queue behind their government. But if you release a list, the list that you released had PDP members who are facing trial. People who are facing trial. Now, people facing trial, you release their list. And then leave out people in your own party who are facing trials too. the Gojes of this world, we know they are facing trial now. Abiayo.
Ojikalo.
Ojikalu, we know they are facing trial.
That's why the witness.
Obanikoro.
And you leave all of those ones out.
No, Banikoro is not facing trial.
You know, you leave.
It's not at all.
No. There are people who are not even facing trial, who are accused.
Accused.
People who have been accused, who have not. There is no proof that they are actually guilty.
Yes.
Because it has to be
Proven by a court
that they are guilty. And it still remains an allegation.
Yes.
You put those people on the list. And a man who has been on trial for 11 years did not qualify to be on your list. They will not, people will think this is all politics. That is why we said that day, because we are not politicians. We have committed to saying the truth. As the funny senator from my former state used to say, if you say the truth, you die. If you don't say the truth, you die.
Why don't we say the
Why
truth
don't
and
you
just
say
die?
the truth? Yeah.
And die.
So if you leave those ones out, the hefty allegation against Aminu Turaki, you left him out.
Governor Jigawa State.
Yes, because someone accused him of taking money across the counter in billions. He actually set a Nigerian record.
Cash.
So it's not, the guy has not been convicted. Aminu Turaki has not been convicted. You left him out, but the allegation is a hefty one. Now, other people too, who have similarly not been convicted with even smaller allegations, they materialize on your list. There's no way that you'll be able to rally support. People will just think it's a joke. That's why I said, look, these politicians are just exciting us. You know, they are giving us talking points for us to talk and talk, keep our mouths busy until the election comes. But politicians can build consensus. They can get the people to rally around them when they show sincerity of purpose. When people see clearly that this is a government for us. Look, when Obasanjo first took over in 1999, he solved the problem of fuel scarcity in northern Nigeria. Because in northern Nigeria at that time, we were buying fuel for like 300 naira a liter. Filling stations were dry. You could only buy fuel in surface tanks.
And you'll be seeing people carrying kegs.
Suddenly, Obasanjo came, solved that problem. I remember Abdul Karim Dayabu, former president of the Chamber of Commerce in Kano State and president of the Movement for Justice in Nigeria, one of the biggest critics, greatest critics that I've ever known. Abdul Karim Dayabu said, even God will be happy with Obasanjo now. He never liked him, but what he did at that time, he was so pleased. But after a few years, as it always happens with Nigerian leaders, they get distracted, they get sucked in by selfish people around them, you know, which is the reason I've been asking Buhari to chase away the selfish people around them. So people misunderstand, they think, oh, I don't want to blame Buhari, I prefer to blame the people around him. It's because I know that it's the people around leaders. In Nigerian history, it's the people around leaders who always bring them down. People don't understand these things. Buhari,
They have great influence.
Buhari in 1985 was brought down by the people around him. It was a palace coup that kicked him out. He never knew that people like IBB were interested in his throne. He never knew. So that's why when you have some selfish people around the president, all they are committed to is their own pocket. And they will do whatever it takes just to line their own pocket while creating problems for that president. In no time, that president will become unpopular. But they don't matter. They are not patriots anyway. They are just there to feather their own nest. So this is the issue. A president who genuinely sets out to work for the people and who does that diligently, honestly, he will have support across party lines. We've seen it.
How can we...
The buck.
Quickly.
The buck stops on the president's table. I think he's too reticent for my liking. A lot has been said about people around him for so long. Even somebody so close to him, his wife, mentioned people around him creating a problem. I think the president has to wake up to the fact that if anything happens, nobody is going to mention anybody around him. It is Buhari, Buhari,
That's why
Buhari.
we tell him, deal with them.
He has to take leadership It's about leadership. We were talking about motivating Nigerians to support the war. But if the leader is too reticent, how would they go along with him? I think he has to take that up. That's my point about that.
They've said it. The box stopped on the table. 2015 to 2019, it will be stated that it was Buhari's government. It's not going to be any minister government. They won't call it CK, they won't call Babajide, they won't call him Mama Daura. It is Muhammadu Buhari. Just as we're saying, good luck, Jonathan's government. So I think the president is high time. We've said it, and they say it takes his time, but this time is taking too long. It is high time it comes out clean. This cabinet, as presently constituted, cannot take us anywhere. It should just do something about it.
All right.
To beg the Senate.
No.
Because he wanted to do something about it.
But it's difficult now. Yeah. Still to come, INEC serves Ekiti governorship election notice. Stay with us. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this breather. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's your groundbreaking program of the year, Journalist Hangout, and we're reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. 2019 election might seem far, but it is not. It is at the door. For Ekiti State, it's already an election year. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says, come July the 14th, 2018, the electorate in the states would exercise their franchise. The state seems set, but the gladiators are not. Less than 3 weeks to the poll. Neither of the dominant PDP and APC has a candidate. Whatever comes out of this process will be a huge peep into what will come out of the 2019 election will look like. Are the signals clear for a peaceful, free and fair poll in the states? Babajide, the dynamics of Ekiti state politics is somehow, they say politics is local. For some of us that we've been monitoring the events within the major parties. Now, the People's Democratic Party in the Ekiti state is, firmly in the hand of Governor Ayodele Fayose. If you don't ship him, just ship out. That's the reality of today. So, and he has anointed his deputy. Yes. That's the situation. If you know you have any other, just ship out. Now, the All Progressive Congress, that's the APC, they have up to 30 candidates. I mean, 30 aspirants. 42. Can you beat that? And of the 42, we have the former governor of the states, that's John Kayode Fayemi, is contesting. He's a minister now, Minister of Minister of Solid Mineral. The political advisor, special advisor to the president on political matter, that Babafemi Ojudu is there. The former governor, Governor Segun Oni, is also there. And you can start naming the names, on and on. Okoyemi Bamidele, he was a two-time commissioner. He was a commissioner under Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Lagos State and a former House of Rep member. So, before now, election is 90 days. It's just too close to comfort. Now, it's 30 days to the primaries of the All Progressive Congress. Right now, between now and that time, is it not possible for these people to just come together? It's clear, the PDP is clear that, okay, Fayose might just, because I remember Senator Dayo Adeyeye, former Minister of State for Works. Yes. But I don't know how...
They've started their own campaign already, even though...
I don't know how far it can go in upstaging Fayose's candidates. What is happening within the APC? Is it healthy?
No, it's not, because I see enemies contesting against one another. Among the candidates that you reeled out their names, there are those who have not been on talking terms for 3 years that I know.
Are very, very close friends.
They used to be very close friends. I just choose not to mention their names. They are not on speaking terms. Now, do you think if one of them got defeated in the primaries, that he will not work against the other person? Do you think that even if it looks apparent that one of them stands the best chance of defeating Fayose, the others will agree to step down? Do you think that this election, the primaries of the APC, would not lead to some other people defecting to another party or going to work for another party?
Start another round of litigation.
Anywhere you have so many people
Strong interest.
struggling, jostling for a party's ticket, just watch out for what happens on election day. We saw it in Anambra because the PDP could not manage the primaries and the crisis that arose out of the primaries.
The apathy.
Many of them felt okay that the candidate was imposed, you know, on the other candidates, and that the primaries, they actually used students. They fielded, they brought students to vote where real delegates who are card-carrying party members should have voted. So all of those things made some people unhappy, and they chose to go and give their votes to someone else. So with APC having so many candidates, I don't know how they are going to unite to ensure that Fayose does not succeed in bringing his deputy as a successor. In his own party too, they have crisis because we are hearing that his former deputy, Adebisi Omoyenin, that former MD of Wema
Skybank.
Wema Bank.
Okay, Wema Bank, sorry.
People like Abiodun Olujimi and the senator representing Ekiti Central, Fatima Rajira Azaki.
As Olujimi Ekiti South, Rajira Azaki Central.
Yes, that they are going to SDP. Their representatives attended the last meeting of the SDP, you know. So that if that happens, and of course Adeyeye too, who is also fairly strong, Adeyeye has said, look, he's interested in the contest, he's ready to throw his hat in the ring, and he's ready to give whatever it takes. So Fayose too will have to contend with crisis that may result from his own party primary, because they are accusing him of subverting the constitution of the party by imposing Kolapo on the party. And they are saying that this Kolapo that he has imposed is not Kolapo Olushola is not strong enough to defeat whoever the APC comes up with. And Ojudu has something going for him, which he has always said that, look, he's the only person alive who is known to have defeated Fayose in an election. So he keeps saying that he once defeated him, but that and I can do it again. But at the time he defeated him, he had John Kayode Fayemi behind him, you know?
In Central.
Yes. So, but now it's not likely to have Kayode Fayemi behind him in this contest.
Means in the contest.
So we look at it, it promises to be a very keen contest, and the fact that INEC even said 120,000 extra people have registered shows that this will be a good contest. More people have registered.
More people, yes. So the number would have gone up. Augustine, let's take our first caller. Augustine is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Augustine.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Augustine. I'm calling from Abuja.
All right, go ahead, your contribution.
Good evening, Babajide, my president.
Buhari be our president too.
You are my first number one president. Other than your cabinet member. The only one president that I know.
Okay.
Please,
Thanks.
what I want to say is that this government indeed has failed Nigeria. Today, I heard you talking about his government during 1983, of what he had, what the people that was around him that pulled him down. They didn't pull him down. He just simply got what he reached during the time of Shagari. Then talking about this government, I strongly believe that this money is going to be for election. They are just going to use it for election.
Thank you, Augustine. Shola?
Yeah,
Ekiti State.
Ekiti State. Well, I think the APC, what I can say is there are too many cooks, and it's going to spoil the broth for APC if they are not careful. He has said a lot about, because if there is no unity of purpose, eventually when the chips are down, so I believe Fayose is somewhere in the corner of his bedroom giggling, because the more these people have this,
You might also have an aspirant planted within the APC with this list of 42.
There is no
Can you be 42?
unity of purpose.
It's a joke.
If people cannot really give room for one another to be able to have a very strong force, whether you like it or not, the dynamics of Ekiti politics, the Fayose factor is still there. That is popular, we may be saying a lot of things, but among the people that really vote, that is there. So you may be having that. So if you want to fight, you want to dine with the devil, you must come with a long spoon. And that long spoon will not come from all these rigmaroles we are seeing about ambition and counter-ambition in Ekiti, in the APC. So the earlier, if they really want to stand a good chance against the Fayose juggernaut out there, then they have to decide before, you were just talking about 30 days to the primaries. So where would they have the common front? 90 days to the election. So that means they just have about 60 days to be able to fight.
To campaign proper now.
I think they have to decide. There's always a way of having a consensus. I think the earlier they do that, the better. We should not always also overlook the fact of, anyway, maybe we'll come to that later, the position of INEC on this.
I think Fayose is smart. I think it has been smart. Because what is happening within the APC is what he personally would have envisaged that was going to happen, which was why he came out immediately and said, this is the person I endorse. But, and give it to him, the fact that he endorsed his deputy, he made it categorically clear that every other person within the PDP in the state has the right to come out for the primaries. I'm just saying. You have the delegates, you have everything. So I know. I'm just saying, but that's just it. But coming to the APC is nothing new. It happened in Ondo. Some of you have forgotten what happened in Ondo State. The crisis is still there. You remember vividly. Even within Lagos, in 2015, it happened. Some of us have easily forgotten that if not for the leader, who is very visionary, who always see what most other politicians don't see. Anambode, for one, was a dark horse in 2015. Don't forget that there were so many names that were coming up, so many people that wanted there, and as some people were saying, who is this? And the pointer was that this is the guy I know can deliver. You understand what I'm trying to say? So the APC, as it is present, and that is the problem we're having with the APC. The party in itself is not in total control of its membership. Because most of these things, that's the way to go about it. Within the caucus, the party on itself can meet and say, okay, you guys, please, can we just narrow this thing? Yes. You understand what I mean? You can narrow it down and say, okay, can we narrow this down? We can have our inner caucus, remove and this thing, voting, pretenders and the rest of for the real guys and the rest of them. Because we have a common enemy. No matter how you look at it, and the time is very, very, very short.
Any mistake.
By the time they go into that primaries, it will be the time will be too short for them to be able to reconcile everybody quickly. You understand? And that is the problem. So, and that is what even the APC was trying to do with part of some people are trying to do with the term elongation for the chairman. Because they knew that the crisis that might come out of the primaries that they're going to have, it will take them time for them to be able to do that, to be able to reconcile everything. So I think that the best choice is...
I have a caller. Okay. Solomon is calling us. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you for hanging out. Solomon, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Yeah, I'm here. I'm with you, please.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to actually doff my heart for Babajide. You know, he's a man who speaks truth to power.
You should doff it on your behalf.
Now, please, I want to actually comment on our president, Buhari. You see, when President Buhari won the election in 2016, I told a very good friend of mine, I said, look, the president will not be able to perform for one single reason, that the man rose to power.
We lost that. Well, thank you, Solomon.
You can call back.
You can come back, Solomon. So,
Yes, so in conclusion, I think the best thing, the party had to step in now, as quickly as possible. No matter what, we know that even within the 42, there are some pretenders. Some needed something to hold on to. Sorry?
They won't step in. They will let everybody exercise.
The rest of them.
Today, another factor there is that before 2015 election, Osun happened, Ekiti happened, and it gave us idea of what might happen in 2015.
So they quickly.
Do you understand?
Strategize.
Yes. So this outing, how important will it be for Mr. President, and how important will it be for the People's Democratic Party and even the SDP?
You know, the loss of Ekiti drew attention of the APC to the problems on his hands, and they had to work hard to ensure that the mistakes made in Ekiti were not repeated in Osun.
2 months after.
You know, and even in Lagos. Remember, it was that time that people were angry that Fashola had increased the lasso fees.
Yes.
And he was boasting that he will never reduce it, that I'm sure our party will back us all the way. But after they lost in Ekiti, he came back to Lagos and reduced it. The students actually asked for 50,000. He reduced it to 25,000. You know, so the party was rattled. And then they made sure that the mistakes they made in Ekiti were not repeated in Osun. Forget about what people say about photochromic or all those funny things. Fauci won the election hands down. In Ekiti, won it hands down. No doubt about it. You can't win. And to show that it was not a fluke, the subsequent elections after that one, the national elections, he also won all of those three.
President Buhari did not win in Ekiti State.
Yes,
he did not
and
win.
both the state election, State House of Assembly election, and the federal legislature legislative election, he won all of that.
Yep.
So you know that one was not a fluke. I mean, if he could win when he was out of power, as a sitting governor, you want to now defeat him. It's not going to be easy. They have to realize it.
And this is the second time.
They have to realize
he has defeated
incumbents, yes. They have to realize it that they are up against a very tough opponent, a grassroots person, someone that even barbers or the artisans, they have his phone number, they can call him at any time. He has his ways with these people.
Honestly.
So when you are aloof as a politician, you are wearing starch agbada, you are doing this one is ready to go.
Amala joint.
Yes.
Amala
To
joint.
the fire factor.
Yes.
Amala
Walk
joint.
the street of it.
So you can abuse him, or I'm not someone who praises him just like that, but I'm someone who will see the truth and talk about the truth. This is a difficult person to defeat. So they have to come together if they truly want to ensure that it doesn't.
Okay, moving on now. Ants might be tiny insects, but the Central Bank of Nigeria wants both the states and the federal government to tap from their wisdom. It is about saving for the rainy day. Surprisingly, ants do this effortlessly, but the government seemed not. Recent crash in the price of the crude oil in the international markets exposed how unwilling the government was about saving. Almost all the states went bankrupt, but as more money tumbles in today, both states and federal governments have rekindled their obsession with spending. The central bank is worried. On Wednesday, the Apex Bank bleated the need for caution and advice that the government should begin to save. But will anything change? Only time can tell. In 2010, former Finance Minister Olusegun Aganga raised the same alarm and was ignored. In 2016, former Finance Minister, that is Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, now a professor, said the same thing. And also the Emir of Kano, that's Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, when he was the CBN governor, these calls fell on deaf ears. What is wrong with us? Let me start with you, Shara. We have this pension of always, as it comes, let's spend it. Yoruba people will say, "Nino lowo." Some people even they went to court to even argue that the constitution says all the money accrued to the federation account shall be shared among the 3 tiers of government. Shared. So federal government, state government, local government. As the thing is coming, shared. Okonjo-Iweala, in no way they foresaw something like this. When the recession came, Norway had an excess of almost $700 billion in their foreign reserve. Sovereign wealth, this thing. But Okonjo-Iweala came out with that idea, but it did not see the light of day.
I'm going to come up with a caveat. CBN said, save for rainy days. But the question is there something to save? Remember, most governors, maybe, but for Lagos,
the
that
situation
seems
is better
to be,
now.
Is it that good to the extent that the CBN can boldly ask them to save? We need to know. Because most of them are still grappling with the issue of salaries and all those things out there. But do they really have enough? And is there a particular thing being put in place by the CBN to train even these people to, because it's like in most of the states, we are dealing with financial illiterates. You are talking of dependence every time on the oil, what trickle downs from the federal government. So if you are getting this and you are paying it off to pay salaries, to deal with political jobbers or whoever, is there anything in place? Is the CBN telling us that, okay, now there is enough for the state to be able to save? So that is the question we have to even ask CBN. So, and if there is that enough, what is the CBN putting in place to get these people to understand what it takes to even save? Not just saving, what are they going to do with the money? Is there any particular investment portfolio that these states are dealing with? We know what is going on in Lagos State. Lagos is putting its hands in so many things. I mean, having relationship with states like KB, creating a kind of synergy with other people to be able to have something for the rainy days. But do these states really have it? Is that what CBN is telling us? That is the question I need to know.
Babajide, when you look at the debt portfolio, you look at the IGR, and what is happening here now, I think CBN, I don't know what might have informed this advice, but the situation is a little better than what it was last year or in 2016, that we were in recession, deep into recession. Now, I don't know, maybe the situation is improving. Maybe these states, they are becoming as liquid as they are carrying out their statutory function. It's been a while that I've had states, there's some states, so in 10 months, I don't think any state exists like that. What's the wisdom behind this advice given by the CBN?
Yeah, because distributable revenue from FAC is increasing. At least the situation has been better than it was about a year ago. Crude oil prices is on the average now 57 now. There was a time it was around 60, 59, 60. So what they are saying is, look, we are experiencing increase in FAC distributable revenue. This is about time for us to come up with a robust savings program so that in case we run into the kind of recession that we ran into in the second quarter of 2016, there will be a kind of shock absorber, because we didn't have anything in place to mitigate the shocks that recession the plunge of the situation that the recession plunged us into. We didn't have. And countries invest in sovereign wealth funds. Some countries save for the rainy day in form of sovereign wealth fund. Aganga brought the idea here in Nigeria. But we kept saying, look, the Constitution says all monies made by the government should be shared by the 3 tiers of government. We kept coming up with that idea. And they went to court. Some of those who went to court at that time are today in this government.
Ministers.
They are in this government. Some of them are ministers. The loudest of them all at that time. How can you have a country, even if the constitution says you must share revenue accruing to the federal government among the 3 tiers, you can't think of saving for any day? This illegal excess crude account that is not mentioned in the constitution as an account that should be jointly owned by the 3 tiers of government. We have it. The kind of money that is there should have been in our sovereign wealth account. Countries smaller than us, they've saved more in the sovereign wealth account. Look at a country like Botswana. They have 5.7 billion in their sovereign wealth account. Nigeria has 2.9 billion. Angola has 4.6 billion. Algeria has 7.6 billion. Libya has 66 billion. Libya that some people see as a failed state. So why shouldn't we save? Some of the governors argued at that time that a country suffering infrastructure deficit like us, that there should be no need to save. So you just, the money comes, you just save everything. It makes no sense. When you save money, in future you'll be able to use the money to do meaningful things. You don't just spend money the way you find it. Why are we now saving money in the
foreign account?
What's it called? Foreign reserve.
Foreign reserve.
Because even that puts you in a position of strength.
I think we have up to
countries can
40 billion.
Yes, 40 billion now. Countries would want to. I mean, they would want to. They want to give you loan. If you want loan, they believe that with that, your economy at least is stable and all that. You can also defend your currency with it. We've discovered now that it makes sense to keep money in that foreign reserve. So saving money cannot be a bad idea. Even countries like Norway, as rich as they are, as comfortable as they are, you know, the Norwegians, the people, the country is so well run that there are very few prisoners. If you see prisons that they are building, their prisons are like 5-star hotels. I even learned that I learned from a colleague today. I learned from a colleague today that in Holland, that the prisoners are so few that they had to take prisoners from Spain. So when the country is properly run, this is what will happen. Even crime will go down.
One, I disagree with what Shola said, that do they even have enough to run their states? It's just like your personal income. The fact that you earn 5,000 monthly doesn't mean that and it's not enough for you, doesn't mean that you must spend the whole 5,000 in a day.
It's a sacrifice.
It's a sacrifice. You have to make a sacrifice. And secondly, Jide was dancing around it. It was this same minister of, it was Chibika Mechi, as the chairman of the governors forum that took the government of Goodluck Jonathan to court over the sovereign account. When Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was saying that, let's keep this for the rainy day. They went to court, the governors forum went to court, and the court decided in their favor. And that was what happened. I think what the BSF...
case they withdrew.
Yeah, no, we withdrew this. That's what I'm saying now, because out of court. Supreme Court and just court and settled this, and everything was...
it was good.
No, there was good, yes.
Because it's spelled out.
Yes.
No, it's clear.
It was very clear in the Constitution how it to be shared. So I think CBN coming now saying that is because... And another problem has always been that...
And they are seeing signs too that oil prices will begin to drop.
That oil prices will begin to drop.
That's the import of what's
that is exactly.
So when it drops now, what are the cushions that we have?
Well, they're going to cushion. And the last one is that every month going to Abuja is not even helping everybody. None of them is looking, except Lagos, that you can talk of the internal generated revenue. All they just do, the governors, what they do, once it's towards the end of, they just send the Commissioner of Finance to Abuja to collect the DT.
These days, they almost exchange
over
NNPC.
Over the NNPC.
Now, what NNPC declared was not enough.
Exactly. You know, so yes.
Encourage our states to stop going caps in hand.
That is it. Why don't they look
They won't survive.
Do something for themselves.
They won't survive.
Oh, la, la.
95% of them won't survive.
Never.
All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you. Thank you, CKN. Thank you for attending the program today.
Thank you very
Shola
much.
Johnson, welcome back. Welcome back. We hope we will see you soon. And the master himself, Babajide Kolade Doju. Thank you for your wisdom. And that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. You can catch us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Osubakun. God bless Nigeria. See you soon.